Okay, hello friends. So welcome in one more Scrum Master interview session. Today we have Avijit Day with us. He is holding 5 offer letters from TCS, Accenture, SCL, Unified Infotech, and Capgemini. So this session may divide into 2 parts. And friends, before we start, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe. We have a lot of real-time Scrum Master interview questions and answer based on real interview experience shared by various candidates. So please go through them and get benefit out of it. And friends, don't forget to hit like button. Your one like is a big motivation for us. And in case any queries, clarification, feedback, please do comment. So with this note, let me welcome today's guest, and his name is Avijit Day. So thanks, Avijit, for joining us and sharing your experience with all. So Avijit, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as a Scrum Master, Avijit, before we start with Q&A questions?
Yeah. Hi, Sunand. Actually, I'm having about 10 years of experience working in IT. Started with database, then some of the application support maintenance, and then some of the non-technical project-related works I worked. After that, I just got the training and interest in that leadership kind of a role, where the Scrum was introduced. Actually, the framework, like an agile way of working. So from that onwards, near about 3 years, I am into the space of agile, working working into the as a Scrum Masters, different technology, different methodologies and frameworks related to the agile way of working. So that is more about me, lastly, and all about last 3 years. I'm concentrating as a Scrum Master, where my intention is to be into the leadership role kind of a thing, and trying to be agile coach if I get the opportunity in the future. Okay.
Great, thanks, Avijit, for that. Okay, so shall we begin with our Q&A?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So this very first is pretty standard, like agile versus Scrum. What's the difference? And then we have a couple of follow-up questions on that also.
Yeah.
Avijit.
Actually, if I look up it's agile versus Scrum, actually in the industry, many people or many of like us, they believe that Scrum is not synonymous with agile. If I look at the what is agile, it's a philosophy, it's a way of working, it's a mindset kind of a thing. It is based on 4 core values and 12 principles. It's all about an adaptive way of working. It's a generic, very generic in nature. There is no Scrum, agile. We cannot say that this is a methodology or kind of a framework. It's just only a way of working. It's a mindset. It based on, we know that 4 core values: individual and interaction over process and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, contract negotiation over customer collaboration, and finally respond to change over following a plan. But the thing is that if it may not be any kind of framework we are following, we can use, it's a very generic in nature. If we work in that way, this becomes an agile way of working, where we have to respond to change. We have values also. Requirement may come late in the development process. We have to have retrospect. We have to have a self-organized team. Okay, customer satisfaction is our topmost priority, and we have to deliver through shorter cycle of time. If we follow all this kind of a thing in a way of working, we may say that we are following agile. It may not be necessarily we are following a methodology. The most popular framework under Scrum under agile umbrella is a Scrum. We can say that is the difference. Here, Scrum is a lightweight framework where to address complex adaptive problem, where it has got its own values, artifacts, role, events, everything. Okay, so that's also a good phrase going in the market, is doing agile versus being agile. In that case, we may use any framework, but we have to be, in that case, embracing the mindset of agility is very important in that. That is the difference. The Scrum, in general way, it's a lightweight framework to address complex problems, and we have got a 13 pages a Scrum guide given all this kind of a thing, and framework we can customize if it works in that. And when it talks about agile, it only based on the philosophy, the way of working. That's the thing. That's to me as agile versus Scrum, and both are not synonymous in that. Okay.
Okay, thanks for that. And what is your take on Scrum One? You are aware about this term, Scrum One?
A Scrum Bun, actually, it's amalgamation of Scrum and Kanban. Here is another thing, Kanban. Kanban is basically a very old as a manufacturing industry thing, from Toyota it was introduced, and it was a system. It's a pool-based visualization system where we can visualize our workflow, optimize, visualize, and maintain the workflow. In that case, the term Scrum Bun is basically we are using uh, Kanban on top of Scrum. Actually, we are doing all the ceremonies, maintaining artifacts, doing maintaining roles and on Scrum. But on the top of it, we are using a Kanban board to visualize our work in progress, how we can work in progress, WIP limits. We can, if I can visualize what actually is going on, information radiation, which if you can generate in that, I think both of them will work together, and that is Kanban mixture of that is Scrumban mixture of Kanban and Scrum. That's it for that for Kanban.
Okay, thanks, Avijit, for that. Okay, so next one is about Scrum events. So what are the different Scrum events? I'm sure you might be aware about, but which is the one which you like most and why? And what are the challenges which you have faced in facilitating all these events? So if you can share your some real life, issues or challenges, that will be great.
Fine. So this is, in Scrum guide. If I look, everyone is just it's all right. Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead, Avijit. No issues.
Yeah. In that, as per Scrum guide, we have actually 4 events. In 2020 guide, it's not ceremony, it's events. In that, we have 4 events. That is starting from sprint planning meeting, sprint planning events, then daily Scrum, review, and retrospection. Those are 4 events. Apart from that, we have a general accepted Scrum practices. This is backlog grooming session. In that 4, if I want to say some, just in single word, all those events are the formal opportunity to inspect and adapt. That is the basic thing that we have to find out here. Formal opportunity with some respect to the Scrum, and in that, my personal preference is the retrospection. I like every ceremonies that was every events that was there in the embedded in the Scrum guide. Obviously, it has got its own importance and own purpose. For that it has been given. We cannot say which one is better, but from I like retrospection most. Retrospection is an area where we have to find out continuous improvement. That is one of the agile way of, if I look at the principle, it's a 12 principle of agile manifesto, where it has been written as a 12 principle. At a regular interval we have to find out areas, and here the definition says, Scrum guide says, it's a formal opportunity to inspect and adapt things with respect to individual interaction, process, tools, and definition of them, how we can do better. Okay, and obviously we have to find out one actionable item. In that, the first thing, retrospection, that some of the challenges facilitating that events as a Scrum Master, what I faced is that, first and foremost, the team where we are actually facilitating, that should be on psychological safety is very important, because it's not for in that in every aspects of life, discussing goods is good, it's fine, everyone discuss a good thing, but when it comes to criticism, there is a challenge there. Where should I say this or not? Everyone, we have a good relationship, and that we cannot blame a developer if directly a developer says that we have done everything. This is a tester fault. That's called the metric, something like that. It may be like that. So we have to first, as a Scrum Master, that the challenges I have faced and I just try to overcome this is to make our environment psychological safe for them. That is the thing. Another one is that we may discuss, we may brainstorm, but there is no follow through. We are not finding out what to do. That is most important. This is not, the retrospection is not all about finding out this, doing a postmortem and finding out the root cause. It's not the symptom, it's the disease that we have to find out. There are lots of techniques. Everyone is aware of 5 why is a good technique to find out the root cause. And then you have to implement the follow through. That, yeah, this is the thing that we have to implement. Okay, and action item should be so much small, not too big, because we have to implement. This kind of challenges I face. Thirdly, people sometimes, when I was not that much into knowledgeable area, I don't have that It's called one good term in that framework is called a retrospective board. Fatigue, retrospective fatigue. Every time we are using the same formats, and people are not getting that much engagement in that they are not trying to participate. In that case, as a Scrum Master, as a facilitator, we have to make a sandbox where people can communicate, connect, and create creative solutions. This kind of a thing. So it's a responsibility of the Scrum Master where people can connect, people can part. It's not okay, fine, everything is good. We have to find out a continuous improvement area. It's a good point also. Working in a team, in a running team, or if you are having a high performing team, in that you may face a situation where everything is good. But what to do with retrospection? They're still in the journey of the agility. You have to find out at least one improvement area. That's why you can show this kind of a thing. You have to find out. There are a lot very small things can also happen. Engagement, humanizing these things. So those kind of a thing. And obviously there are people who in all the ceremony, it is not only for the retrospection, people are not interested. They consider in the Scrum framework, there are lots of ceremonies, there are lots of time. We don't have this. It's also for all the ceremonies, but that you have to pain and gain of the person who are not being why they are not trying to join, and what is the purpose of it. They don't know exactly the purpose. So this kind of a challenge in short, 3-4 challenges that uh, I have faced and overcome, communicating with people and finding out things. And that I mentioned, every time I'm not telling you every time you have to try with some new templates, but still we have to make it some creativity into that. Creativity means some innovation so that people can connect, get the people consider that this is new, so we can just put the input on that. That is important. Otherwise, it will not. As a team, we have to find out the retrospection and follow through. That's the most important thing that you have to implement in your coming sprint. Thanks, Sharon, for this.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So, what about estimation? What is your take on that?
Estimation. So estimation, in very short, in one word, in one sentence, rather, if I have to say, it's that it's the most controversial and contradictory thing to talk about. Okay, it's a first thing that I understand now in working in that thing is that for two things you have to consider. Whatever estimation techniques you are using, it's all about an educated guess. When the estimation is we are doing the estimation, what is the purpose of the estimation? That is the basic thing that you have to consider, because estimation is an educated guess. People are telling, instead of just roughly right rather than going a precise wrong. This is kind of a thing, educated guess. We are putting something here. There are lots of estimations available. Here we are concentrating in agile way of working. People consider that the relative estimation is a technique where we use, but we have the idle day. This is PD. We also use person day. How much time that we are actually doing. Actually, what we are doing in that case, let's suppose what we follow in that is that when we are doing the estimation in the backlog level, product backlog level, we are doing the relative estimation. Relative estimation is the basic. If I look at this, that we are actually putting a number against the effort based on the cone of uncertainty. That is risks dependency, RIDI, you can on a short, risks dependency, issues, and assumptions. This kind of them. Based on cone of uncertainty, we are putting a number. We are putting at the efforts. This is the thing. And how we are doing this, in case if I look at the process, there are planning poker techniques we use. Actually, here reference, wall of reference or year studies, weather is very important. We have completed 3-4 stories. We know that's much of value in that that is required. And comparing this with our new story, we put a number. We cannot directly, it's not an absolute estimation, we cannot take. Rather, we can take this a 5-point story. And one thing that I missed, that in that planning poker, we are using relative numbers from Fibonacci series. This is basically an estimation. There are another way we can also Excel, double Excel. This is a t-shirt sizing. All these things is basically any way, it may be anything we can do. This is the most used process I am talking about. The idea is we have to put a number, we have to put a measurement for efforts based on the cone of uncertainty. This is the thing we are doing. And another thing that is I have told you that that is the product backlog level, we are putting that estimation number. But when it comes to our sprint backlog, where developers collaborate, sprint backlog, we are discussing what we do actually in sprint planning. Actually, we in the story, we need to divide the story into multiple tasks. That is tasks that we need to do. What is the UI UX related things? It's maybe database related things. It may be business logic, coding, everything. We have to separately task, and then it will be assigned to the development team to do. In that case, the task will be estimated roughly in hours. Okay, because all the things are the capacity velocity. That as a follow-up thing is that the velocity is fine. We are having a velocity, but end of the day, it's also its capacity also. We have to plan a capacity. Okay, and then a velocity. Velocity is also an observation how we are doing last 3-4 sprint average kind of a number. So then it's all about taking this thing. Okay, how we can do this. It's an all estimation. It's here in agile way of working. Actually, we follow the relative estimation, and based on that story completed, we put the number. And when it comes to the sprint planning, everything that's a PD. That's a person day, hours or day, how much they can take, and that's why we commit. Okay, so that is all about our estimation kind of a thing, and we do a two-way estimation.
Okay, thanks, Avijit, for this detailed explanation on estimation. That's great. Okay, so next question is on what's the difference between a DOD and acceptance criteria, and if you can also touch base upon invest criteria, if you know that will be great.
Okay. So definition of done first, it's as per Scrum guide, its definition of done is commitment to the product increment. It's a one-word thing. It's a commitment to the product increment. And what we are doing within the sprint, it's an increment, end of the day, increment we are producing. So when we say this is done, there is a shared understanding between the team, transparent, shared, living document that tells whether it is done or not done. In that way of working, we follow either it is done or not done. There is no half done, there is no 80% done or nothing like that. Done or not done. So this is a definition of done kind of a thing, where we have a list of things there which actually states the state of the product as well, kind of a regulatory thing as well. How stringent it depends on how good quality in that. We have to have that unit testing, coding, unit test completed, peer review can also include integration testing done, acceptance criteria accepted, it has been deployed on the production server, documentation done, 90% of the technical debt removed. Day by day, it's an evolving thing. And one thing that I should mention, the definition of done is an evolving thing. As the project gets matured, you can make it stringent. Okay, it should not, for committing more story, for increasing velocity, we cannot loosen the definition of done. That will impact that product quality also. Okay, in that definition of done, in short, a commitment that states whether a product, the things is done or not done. State of the product. This is called definition of done. And acceptance criteria is that in the story, whatever user story, as a user you would like to develop, as a user we want to develop a portal from where I can buy something. As simple as a user Ravi, if I mention the persona. In that, this is a functional features that we are not developed. Our acceptance criteria is actually giving you the business logic that I have to do. Business logic that we need to follow. In case of banking, we may have, we can do, as a user, I can do online payment or online payment refund. But what is the logic for that? What are the accepted cards? How can use a UPI? Is there any kind of dedicated wallet for that? All those kind of a business functionality logic. This is called condition of satisfaction. That needs to be there under the story. It's called acceptance criteria. Every user story has got a separate acceptance criteria. And one good phrase to remember, building the product right, it's acceptance criteria, and building the right product is the definition of that as a whole. Okay, so for each story, we have separate acceptance criteria, and we have a definition of done for the story to pass and to check this, okay, it is done. So in short, in this, I think this is the difference.
Okay, that's great. Okay, and as a Scrum Master, how you are going to motivate your team members?
Okay. One thing you missed, that's the invest principle, that is that is also important, that I would like
Yes.
to touch. Then I'm coming in the motivation
Yep.
part. Is that commonly used practices for that, for the story, how we can maintain when we actually use the stories are coming. If the story is actually, it's a card holder kind of a thing, it gives the requirements in times of parts. It's actually extreme programming concept, extreme programming term that has been coined and we are using. It's not in the Scrum. There is no word mentioned as stories. In that, actually, we have it's independent. If I mention, then I'm coming with the story. Invest, actually, independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, testable, and small. Those are the things that you should mention. The story should be like that. It's a good user stories. These are also good questions of what are the properties that a story should have to be implemented, because in one sprint we have to deliver some value to the customer. If I choose a story that is too big, we are not being able to complete and it is not adding value end of the day. So that it's small, it's testable, something that we can test, adding value to the customer, should negotiate its context when it's been planning. And obviously independent, because uh, dependency will be there, but when we are implementing something, there should not be any dependency. Okay, that is the thing, otherwise you cannot proceed. So this kind of a thing, and obviously negotiable. So these things also, in a definition of ready context, it helps us as a guest part, as a gateway where from that we can choose choice. Okay. And coming to the next question, that your motivation part. The motivation kind of a thing, it's very important for all the things. Here in the general context, if I talk, one person says that one thing that you should do, you should not demotivate people. That is the first thing you should consider. You should not demotivate people in any context. You should be approachable. As a Scrum Master, obviously, it's a good quality for a Scrum Master to be approachable. If people are not approachable to me, I cannot. Okay. Then let's suppose I'm not expertise in Java microservices, anything, maybe just basic understanding I'm having, let's suppose in microservice architectures or something like that. So people are new joining, new person who coming to me, may tell that it's very difficult understanding the architecture, service boundaries, and all those kind of, how it's a difference, how it is not working with monolithic or something. I may not be the right person to give them the answer, but I can suggest from where he can go that and get some insights. The person who is expertise on that in the team or outside of the team. That's what I have to tell. If I tell that person, so don't. You are not, you don't have that competence to understand. This is very difficult. You will not be able to. So this is kind of a thing. And then comes we are having three things that I have to consider. One book, Daniel Pink, it's Daniel Pink's theory of motivating change. It's called Autonomy, Purpose, and Mastery. It's very important aspects where we have to work on that. How people work on that. It's the thing. Daniel Pink has got a great motivation book. It's got. I suggest people to read this book. It's available on Google PDF. Daniel Pink's theory, where he explains how the intrinsic motivation, that is a very important thing here. But I cannot say that I will increase your salary or you will work more. Okay, this is not this is called an intrinsic factor. But as a Scrum Master, here we have to concentrate on intrinsic motivation, but I have to understand, I have to motivate how this is going to do. If people are working in a good technology that is high demand on market, they have to say this is the thing, that's why you are contributing to the product. That is the thing, that and your vision. And obviously autonomy is a brain kind of a thing. Then people's idea should be respected. There are lots of people are working, you maybe the senior guys, maybe the junior guys, everyone thinks separately. They're separate thinking of that, but all of them, all of the people who are there, they are actually working for to adding the value to the customer. End of the day, we are delivering values. In that, everyone, at least their idea should be listened. In that case, we have to, she should know first. The discovery is very important of what they're doing. There are lots of people I have I didn't work on that, but I have in the community of practice, I have listened to the pain of the Scrum Master, where people don't know from what project they're working. They have been given a chance, they are working, they are a coder, good coder, but they exactly don't know what benefit they're doing by doing this, what business problem we are trying to solve there. This sometimes is important also. And the technology they are working, if they don't have any kind of barriers between them, that to arrange some kind of knowledge transfer, sharings, this kind of thing, regular connect with them, try to understand their pains. There are lots of organizational things that you cannot overcome. But what we can do, that you have to, not in all the Scrum Master cannot overcome. Okay, there are lots of constraints, challenges, bottlenecks, but still to some extent we have to listen to that. And if they want something, they may want some changes in that. Everyone, I want to work on that technology, at least a little bit pair programming. Please allow at least 1 hour of pair programming for that with that person. So this helps, I think, sometimes. So this kind of a thing, this helps motivations and all kind of thing. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Avijit, for that. Okay, the other one is also very interesting. So, what are the different KPIs you have worked on?
Yes. It's a key indicating key performance indicator. It's a KPI on the KPIs of these things that the terms and KPIs here. There are lots of things that depends on the organizations, the projects, and first and foremost, the committed versus completed. How much we have committed and how much we can complete it. There are lots of quality kind of a thing. We have to work the defect density, defect leakage, burn down, burn ups. Okay, scope creeping handling things. So those kind of KPIs we are using, and also there is bit thing that actually good discussion can go on. It's called a velocity. Velocity, whether actually the velocity is a KPI which we consider or not, but it all depends. Sometimes some organizations, some projects, they want to see the team velocity is very high. But if I look at the theoretical aspects of it, I don't consider velocity to be a KPI of the Scrum, because it's all about an observation. It's in the sanity kind of a thing, and putting in his data. It's a educated data. It's it's end of the day, we're not delivering story points to the customer. What we are delivering is the values. If we have the good EVM is a new things, evidence based agility, where we can show what we are actually delivering, how good values we are delivering. That good, that the value is most important. In that case, the velocity is obviously it's a metric to use, but not that. In that case, also same happens. Somebody we are coming with unfinished user stories. Okay, in that case, how we are going to do this? Some people consider to estimate the stories. Some coming into the okay, entire user stories will be there. When it will complete, it will add the entire velocity point, story points to your velocity. So it all depends on how team works. Whatever you do, end of the day, you will just delivering value to the customer. So those are the things. Customer satisfaction, not in net promoter score sometimes helps. There's a KPIs how customers in that. So those are the things that I generally use: burn up, burn down, committed versus completed. This kind of stories here. And if management wants, then velocity also, but it's not true KPI from my side. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Avijit, for sharing your thought. Okay, so you heard about this term, self-managing and cross-functional team.
Yeah. Okay. The self-organizing, kindly new Scrum guide says the self-managing, and how we can make a team self-organizing or self-managing. The self-managing team, in contrast with tightly managed teams, where there is someone who is going to assign work for us. This is kind of a normal scenario we're having. It's called a tightly managed team. Here, self-managing team or self-organizing team is kind of a thing where people understand, people picks up their own works. This kind of a scenario, and based on it, if you look internally at the self-organization, it is basically two things. One is got the work, innovation or creativity, and freedom. If people are free to think, they are not told, they can do creatively. Innovation is there, and at the same side, it's a very important thing is freedom directly proportional with the peer accountability. If people are not accountable, you cannot give them the freedom as well. So when you are talking about self-organization or self-managing team, we have to consider all those kind of things. People has to be, peer accountable. Otherwise, you will not be able to. It's not a thing discussing or doing what. It's not okay. I am as a Scrum Master going to the site, talking with people. If I say, okay, from tonight we will be self-organizing, you will not get end up in overnight. You have to work on that. I have some of the things where, let's suppose a Scrum guide says, or one of the roles and responsibility of the Scrum Master is to remove impediments. Okay, so if every time for many reasons, there, let's suppose we are not having access in a particular tool, it's not getting access. They come to the Scrum Master, okay, you just, I'm not being able to do and don't have the authorization in that. But it's very simple for that developer. They understand the simple facility management tool called logging will serve the purpose for them. So in that, that is the way of the self-organization, where you are not being able to do these things, involve the Scrum Master. It's not all time the Scrum Masters, obviously, end of the day, but you have to consider, is that a true impediment? How the team considers themselves. If the team conflicts also can be managed by the team also. If it is not done, they are drifting away, then the Scrum Master has to interfere. Otherwise, their intervention is, I don't think that much required. In that case, if I do like that, if I protect, initially is very important. For first 6 months, 1 hours, 1 years, it's very important for team to protect. But every time if I do that, I end up doing a Scrum Mom instead of a Scrum Master. So this is the thing. And self-organizing teams, there are lots of factors are there. The team should be responsible. They should understand actually what does it mean. It's not, otherwise they may. I have seen people doing cherry pickings in self-organization. Every time lose things, they're picking up. I don't get it. They are picking their own dust. So this is also, on the contrary, you may face a situation. This is another situation where product owner directly assigning tasks to a team, restricting the self-organization. This is a difficult story, a difficult kind of a thing. I need this senior guy to accomplish this. So this will also restrict, but on the same side, the cherry picking also. So all the things, you need that freedom, you need that creativity to do, you need the peer accountability to enjoy the freedom. So all those balance, it will over the time, putting all the people in the same room will not give you the chance to create a self-organizing team. But still, people have to understand. You will have to take the responsibility, and as a Scrum Master, you have to help them to understand how, as a whole, we are doing. If we are not doing like that, cherry picking we are doing, we are not being able to finish up. The customer in the review, we will not be able to show anything. At the end of the day, we have to deliver value, and that's why you have to create team. Pair programming you have to learn, then next time you will get the chance to pick up this thing. And the associate thing is that it's called a cross-functional team. And cross-functional team, it's a one thing I should mention. It's some I also having some misconception in cross-functional teams initially, where I consider one people will everything. It's cross-skill. He's a developer, he's a tester, he's a designer. But thing is not like that actually. A cross-functional team will be a team where all the competencies are there, including the tester, developer, DevOps engineer if required. Then without any kind of external dependency, we have the competency within the team so that we can convert that product backlog item into a potential shippable release increment. That is the thing that's required. And if we follow, it's called a cross-skilled. We are having a T-shaped skill. That's a good thing. We are depth. We have depth in competencies, but we know that other things. He's a good developer, but he know the testing part as well, little bit, can work, but he's not a tester. He's a developer. He is also he also do the develop CI/CD pipelining things. Not like that, but cross-functional team should contain all the competencies. That I should mention here. That's it.
Hey, thanks for that detailed explanation. The last point is also good, that cross-functional thing. Good. Okay, so the next question is about scope creep. I mean, normally we are not using this word, but then what is your thought on this? Scope changes during the sprint.
Actually, this is a scope creep. Basically it's a traditional project management. Here we use actually scope creep, goal plating kind of a word. Here actually what I can sense is that we are committing sprint planning, sprint backlog is set, but after that the PO is coming with a new requirement. This is kind of a thing they are considering as scope creep here, as I can sense. I think this is like that. In the sprint planning we have committed, we committed, and then those are the stories. We are going to work on the coming sprint, but in the middle of that we have got intervention. In that, first and foremost thing, the most important thing in a sprint planning output and fixed thing is that the sprint goal, that is a single objective and that is fixed, that we cannot change. Anything that is putting the sprint goal in danger is not been accepted. Okay, yeah, there are lots of factors. We are working something, the product owner comes with a requirement, we have to consider how important is it. If it is going to affect much thing to the customer, or it may be a bugs, the production issues, in that you don't have any option. You don't have, if you say that theory, they will on the same side we are have respond to change. You are agile, you have to change the response. You have to do that. There is also a good phase, the respond to change, even late in the development. So in that, values, practicing Scrum value is very important. You have to have the courage to say no when it is not important and not possible. Sometimes in 10 working days, the 8th day, if they come with a good complex story where it needs much more clarification, you will not be able to do, then you cannot. You have to directly, the team, you have to, with the product owner, you have to have the courage, the openness to say that, yeah, with the respect, obviously, there's some values you have to practice. No, this is not possible because this is the problem. Sometimes you are having a very minor request, a simple logo change, a business logic change. This will take maximum 2 hours. Then you have to do. And in the middle of that, if any requirement comes that is not putting your sprint goal in danger, or you are having some stories that you are not worked, it's part of the sprint backlog, you can swap and take in these stories and complete this. Okay. Here, principle is that fine, but sprint goal should be fixed. If you're changing the sprint goal, and there's another follow-up or something in that, sometimes it may happen, the sprint goal become obsolete. Okay, I have not seen, but I can explain that. In, let's suppose, in that COVID situation, we are planning for something, in a banking application, we are creating one features that some amusement kind of a thing, that will give you the something, some loan or something, some amount, so which we can buy something on. But when the COVID situation comes, everything is closed. In that, people have to concentrate on health kind of a thing. So the health issue is very important. So in that thing, if I looking at that, it will become obsolete. Lockdown is there. People are not going to, let's suppose the 3-4 months, people are concentrating on health issues, health things, their protections related to the health. In that, if I working something like that where the product goal become obsolete, then the product owner's call is there to cancel the sprint goal and create a new. This kind of a thing happens. But end of the day, we have to accept this request, this ad hoc request. But all depends on that, putting the sprint goal intact. And obviously, with the development team, we are not actually, Scrum says it's a pool-based system. It's not a push-based system, but in practical way of working, you cannot. As a Scrum Master, we cannot also, because we have to work both the customer, we serve the customer, the product owner. At the same time, we are shielding the team. So that is from my side, I can manage these things.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so let's talk about spillover user stories. So how you deal with the spillover user stories, whether you will do the re-estimation or what do you do with those user stories?
User stories, yeah. Spillovers is what we commit but cannot finish. This is also a scenario, because when we talk in general, we are considering a happy path. We are committing, we are finishing everything, but it's not in the real scenario. There are lots of things that is the spillovers. So we are actually in my my practice is to re-estimate, because it changes. But 80% completed user stories, when it comes to the next sprint, it should not be this much big if I look at this, because 80% work has been done. So I prefer people to re-estimate. Re-estimate and then come with that. End of the day, we are completing with the story, adding values to the customer. It make the thing not reflect in the velocity, this kind of a thing. And most importantly, it may happen 1 or 2, but we have to do a detailed retrospection. What is the problem actually having? Spillovers, if it is coming for the last 3-4 sprint, we are ending up with lots of spillovers. We have to find out whether we are doing the estimation properly, or the ad hoc request is coming much more. The product owner is being very pushy guy, pushing everything. That's why it may create spillovers. Or we don't have that technical competencies, any kind of technical the capacity is not good. Situation may happen where people are not available. So this kind of thing, the detailed retrospection from the Scrum side, and also doing this in the re-estimating and coming with the next thing. These things I always do. But it all depends. Sometimes it may have, I have already explained this kind of a thing where in some of my projects where they want that velocity should be high. In that case, re-estimate is not required. Entire it will come to the next sprint, maybe in the coming sprint, and then when it will be finished, the previous value, let's suppose it is having 5, we will add 5 to our velocity, 5 story points. So these things, and retrospection is important if it is creating continuous problem. 1-2 times is okay. It is always good, not good. Always it's a normal thing, but we have to find out if it is continuously happening. This we have to work on the grooming also. This grooming is not good, clarification are not good, and estimation is not happening properly. This kind of thing that work.
Okay, thanks, Avijit, for that. Okay, I think this question you have already have answered in a way, but could you also share with us what are the different scenarios when the sprint can be cancelled?
Yeah, this is that I've mentioned when when the sprint goal become obsolete. In that case, the product owner can cancel the sprint and create a new sprint. This is a scenario. This is a cancellation of sprint is required. The goal is the main thing, the single objective for that particular sprint. What value we are adding? If it is obsolete, then we don't have it.
Okay, okay, okay. Thanks, Avijit. So, friends, till now we have covered all these questions are from TCS, and now we are jumping to Accenture. Okay, and we will skip the common questions. So, but maybe I will just rephrase so that you will know that these are the common questions which are asked in multiple companies. So again, from Accenture, we have same role and responsibility of a Scrum Master. Yeah, that's pretty important. That's the very first question you will obviously get in any of your interviews. And could you also explain about Scrum values a little bit,
Yeah,
Avijit?
actually, we are having actually 5 Scrum values. Actually, okay, courage, commitment, okay, openness. Okay, so uh, respect is one of the value. Okay, so this is the 5 values we have to every 5 values will be mentioned, and everything that is important in that if you have this you have to practice. It's not that commitment, courage, okay, so respect and or this 5 I just forgot why I don't know for this you have to have the courage, you have to have the openness, you have to commit, you have to show the respect to the people. If you don't have these values, you cannot those are the integrated factors here actually. Okay, so in Scrum, that's very important to practice, otherwise we will not.
There is a easy way to remember this. That is called
Yeah, actually the focus
so
is
we
there.
call it as
Yeah, actually
I mean, so you can F for focus and then
the focus is there. Actually, I mentioned one
commitment
term,
and then
COCOM 4. It's
uh,
a commitment,
courage, respect, and
courage,
openness.
focus, respect, and openness. These 5 things. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So you always remember like from F O C C R,
Uh,
something
And I
like that.
remember like COCOM 4 kind of thing. I just messed with it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay. But you don't have to remember it. But then, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it sometimes is got confused. Okay, no issues, Avijit. Let's move on. Okay, so what do you think about backlog refinement?
Yeah. Backlog refinement, it's a practice, it's a activity. We cannot say that backlog refinement is it's a event. It's a general accepted Scrum practice where within the sprint we allocate actually not more than 10%, where we actually refined our user stories, because user stories that comes here is it was a high level user stories, big user stories. So you have to split the stories. It's a horizontal splitting is very important, where we split the stories, and after splitting the stories we need to estimate, we need to prioritize everything. So what it defines actually, it's if I'm not telling it's a definition of ready. One of the article written by Ken Schwaber, we mentioned that whatever stories if we have in that implementable state, that is good thing. The stories that we are having in hand is implementable, so that the sprint planning will become very easy for us. Okay, so that is an additional an activity we perform to make the user story in an implementable state. Big user stories are actually splitted vertically. We are splitting, creating the stories, and then we are estimating, we can prioritizing. Actually it's an ordering, actually product backlog is an ordered list. Okay, it's ordering important. Then writing the acceptance criteria properly. Okay, so that when we pick the stories from that backlog, rather it should be good to tell that prioritize product backlog. It will be in sprint backlog, the negotiation, the clarification is very high in sprint planning, so we can work on that better. This is a refinement activity where we directly go through the stories and create this much granular level things we can do. So understanding, clarification. We have to clarify with our product owner what does it mean, how we can, what is the purpose of it, how we can make it better, how we can split it, what could be the estimation. This is kind of activities we do perform in that backlog grooming or refinement session.
Okay. And what if, let's say, if your team member is putting some buffer during the sprint planning, what you will going to do about that?
Yeah, this is it's all again, it's what is working, what is not working. Okay, so look at one of the concepts that I should bring in my when I started, my mentor actually just told me he doesn't prefer buffer because it's an empirical way of working: transparency, inspect, and adaptation. Buffer hides transparency. Not to me, that was in that blog. Some I just understand, I read that blog where it writes. But one thing, in a real working scenario, everything is not as like what was you see, what you can read. It's all about what is working, what is not working. Like, to me, putting a minimum buffer and visualizing the buffer, that is most important. How you are tackling the buffer, that is important. Yeah, buffering is, you can in the sprint planning we can put a 10% buffer, and this buffer is very important and you have to let's suppose you're coming some interruption from others, maybe production issue, bugs, many things. It depends on the course of the project, course of the sprint. You can use that, but the thing is that you have to visualize the buffer, how you are, what percent of the buffer used, not used. So this will help you to track. But to some extent, 10% buffer in the sprint planning can be we can put.
Okay. So it's not necessarily that, Avijit, that everyone will agree on this, but then that's okay. That's your point. So let's continue.
That's why I told you the transparency. Everyone will not, because
that's okay. That's okay. That's perfectly okay. Just for sake of people who is going to watch this session, right? So I just want to make sure that I mean, whoever is watching this session. So friends, take all these answers as a reference, but then you can always add, remove things which you feel is not right, or you want to add something. Please do that. So do not comment that. Okay.
One point. It's a good blog on buffer. Putting a buffer on sprint. The MikeCon has got a good blog on that. How we can visualize.
We'll add that link in our description. So if anyone will want to, they can just always go back and refer that link. So Avijit, just share me that link after this call, and I will put it over there. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Let's move on. So how we do this story splitting, like horizontal versus vertical. So what's the difference between those two?
It's the analogy is eating a ice cream or buffer, eating a cake. Actually, we don't eat slice by slice. Okay, we eat at a single bite. We want to enjoy entire thing. So the sense is that we have to end of the day, end of the customer wants a valuable, adding value that we can use. We cannot create a blank website, where just we will display something. Rather, we can add something, some functionalities rather. So in that, when we have to uh, mm, split the user stories, we have to split it vertically, not horizontally. Okay, based on the acceptance criteria, based on working path, based on the, it's a WAZUR is a good terminology, a good acronym that use workflow path, happy, unhappy, 0, 1 manys. So all those things is that it's not creating the front end. Will not add any value. Let's suppose we are working, creating the database schema. Let's suppose one user story as cannot, because we are not adding any value. Instead of that, a simple chunk of functionality, if we can deliver, then only it will give you add to cart functionality. Next sprint, we are adding it, how we can just do, we can buy, then online. This kind of a thing. I am telling the user story should be split it, that it should have the value usable for the customer. Otherwise, it has no use. And the analogy is having a cake, not layer by layer, at a single bite, entire thing. So that is the thing. It should contain small chunks, but all the functionalities. It's bit UI, bit database, bit logic, so that people can use on a very single day. So this is the thing. And Spider also, it's also SPIDR. Okay, spikes is also one of the things. Spike, Okay, based on that, I will share you the link. Okay, from where you can understand the detail. And Wazur, it's commonly used thing. It's a workflow techniques by which we can split. And 0, 1 many have already happy, unhappy paths, acceptance criteria based splitting. That from where we can split. I'm just giving you one example. Let's suppose we are having let's use the story that is uh, big user stories. Let's suppose payment is online payment like this. As a user, I want to do payment through online. We can break it online. First, for we are developing it for the credit cards. We are developing it for the credit cards, debit cards. Then we can add wallet. Then we can go for UPI. This kind of a thing. Okay, that's not directly, but I'm just giving you one example based on the workflow parts. Happy, unhappy, also true or false. Okay, so this kind of a splitting is split is important, not horizontal. It's always vertical.
Okay, thanks, Jeet, for that. Okay, so a few questions are repetitive, so we're not going to touch those on retrospective, on spillover user stories, on DoD. So let's not get into that. We have already answered that. Okay, so this one is different. Can you work as a PO and Scrum Master both? If yes, how? If no, why?
PO Scrum Master in the role are different. Scrum Guide has not say anything, but the role, if you look at the Scrum Master's roles and responsibility, is we all know it's a theoretical aspect. The Scrum Master is actually it works as a facilitator, the servant leader. It's a people player, person, Scrum Master. Okay, shielding the team from that. And the other side, and the one word, if I have to mention, what is a product owner? He's a value maximizer. Maximizes the value, works directly with customers, and obviously requirements for us. The two roles, if you look at holistically, the two roles are different. Okay, because your product owners is the responsible for requirement they're putting, creating the backlogs. Obviously, Scrum Master is the mentor, they is helping the product owner. But thing that is happening first is product owners is the business centric person. And I'm not putting any kind of contradiction between this team. They both, as a in a framework, three roles are very important. They are connected. But if for my side, if you ask, if I have to say, not possible. We'll make a mixture of it. Okay, then it is that's something that the roles are different. Two-person putting same hat will not be a valuable person. Will not allow or not provide you a good value in that. So it is not thing that Scrum Master. The Scrum Master can be a developer. A developer can play a part-time Scrum Master role. That is fine. That is also good. In that, if situation is like that, but you cannot make a product owner as a Scrum Master. You can. Scrum Guide has not said it is not feasible for that. But if you make it, you will make a mixture of it, and you will not get the value out of it. Okay. Now this is not, I think, at all recommended. Scrum Master.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Avijit. Okay, so this one is on Kanban. If you help us with what is lead time, cycle time, and WIP limit, that will be great.
Okay. Well, here is the Kanban system we have already mentioned. It's a
Just
system.
touch base upon matrices. Let's not discuss Kanban, but maybe what is WIP limit and cycle time, lead time.
Yeah. Lead time, cycle time is the actual operational time. That's actually the time required to complete this thing. This is the cycle time. And lead time, the entire time when the request was submitted and it was delivered. Let's suppose at 10 a.m. the request was submitted and request was delivered to you at 7 p.m. That is the entire global lead time. And within that, the 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., the 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., the work actually occurred. That is called the cycle time. When the actual operations happen, this is called the cycle time. But lead time is the request submission to the completion. Okay. There may be some kind of hindrance, that's why it takes some time. So that's why the lead time is the entire time, the cycle time is only the execution time. And another one is the working limit, that's this in progress time, WIP limit. That is the in progress, the things that is on the in progress time. This is called WIP.
Okay, so just for people who is going to watch this, so we have created 2 different videos on WIP limit. That's a very detailed video, like how you can calculate WIP limit, what is WIP limit of your team, of your board, everything. We have done some calculation also out there in detail, how you can come out with your WIP limit. Go watch that. I will put the link in the description and somewhere over here in the cards. You can watch that. And on again on user story slicing, I have also created a detailed video on all this vertical slicing, horizontal slicing with some good examples. So if you have not seen those videos, please go and watch those videos. That will be definitely going to help you. And Vijit, I think for today we are good. We have covered TCS and Accenture interview questions. Some really good answer given by you. Some few terms which are new, I'm sure, for many people out there. So I think, Vijit, we will take a break on this, and then maybe in the next session we will come up with the other 2-3 interviews which you have already given. So, Vijit, are we good on that?
Yeah. That's great. At the next session, I will cover the.
Yeah, because it's a hour now, and you are continuously speaking, so it doesn't looks good, you know. Let's continue this session maybe next some other day. We'll check with you.
That's great, and
Okay,
it's a great
so
thing talking to you. Okay.
yeah, thank you, Avijit. Thanks again for your time. See you then very soon in next session.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Thanks, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah.